Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the League of Europe YouTube channel for round number 7 of season 7 of League of Europe. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Carmensis. I'll be taking you through proceedings in Division 3 as per usual, and joining me in the commentary box back for round 2 after, and hopefully this time around, a better round 2 than we had for round 1. It's Funky Chicken filling in for Jess once again. Chicken, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Eden. And it's just a new track to the games, completely fresh start. So hoping this drawing time as well from last time can be a lot better. But anyway, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Yeah, as you may know, and some of you watching may know, I'm quite looking forward to this race. I think the track, we won't talk about the country. The track itself, on this game at least, is definitely very nice to drive, and it does have a lot of things going for it race-wise, so it's going to be definitely an interesting race to watch. And speaking of interesting races, we just had Silverstone, obviously, of course, at this time last week. That was the last race we had in Division 3, and it was, well, interesting to say the least, was the race last week. It was all about strategy in the wet conditions, and it was Rex picking up his first ever win in League of Europe last time out, with Old School on the podium in second position and third, going to Miami. So all three of them on the podium for pretty much the first time, apart from Mark. It was the second podium of the season. Championship standings after round 6. Recurric leads on 73 points ahead of RJ, who is 4 points behind. It's another 10 points further back to Taupe, who did miss last week's race, so he's a little bit on the back foot. Then it is Luke, only 2 points off Taupe in fourth, and it is a bit of a gap, about a 19-point gap back to Darry in fifth, and then it is Rex, Old School, Brent, Miami, and Passe that round off the top 10. They're all very close together. Fifth all the way down to 11th is separated by only 8 points at the moment. It's very close in that battle for fifth. So just looking at the championship standings, we've briefly touched on it before we went live, but there are still quite a few people, you've got to say, out of position in this championship for the pace they've shown. Passe, one of them, of course. You've got to say YY is looking a little bit out of position. But I think the one that's maybe the most far down that we're a bit surprised by is maybe Marty.
Yes, I know Marty last season showed tremendous pace in D4, but he was prone to mistakes, and I think he's carried that through into this season. He's made a few too many mistakes, but I think he sorted it out during Monaco as well, but just got a bit unfortunate with incidents towards the end of the race. So if he can keep it clean once again tonight, he could be on for a good result.
Yeah, he could be on for a good result, like you say. Of course, last time he scored was in Monaco, only 11th place in that race. The only time he scored, other than that, this season was a 10th place finish at the French Grand Prix. So, yeah, still looking for a decent result inside the top 10 is Marty this season. Plenty of things to look out for this evening, and we're going to be talking about it a lot, about this track, really. There's no real worry about strategy here. It's fairly easy, soft medium. There is no real tyre wear around this track. It's more dependent on when you decide to pit from the DRS train that's going to be inevitable here. And that is one thing we're going to note a lot this evening, isn't it? DRS trains here. Managing a DRS train is going to be really, really vital in this race.
Yeah, because if you fall outside the DRS train, you're going to lose a lot of time down the two back straights, as you'll probably be dropping around 3-4 temps just per straight alone, as the slipstream around this track is is very overpowered. So if you lose DRS after Sector 1, I think the race is going to be very long ahead of you, so you're going to have to battle to try and get that DRS back.
Yeah, really going to have to push hard to try and do that. Like you say, it's going to be a long race if you do fall out of that DRS range. Of course, you've got 12 corners at the start of the lap before you get to the first DRS zone, which, of course, this being a Codemasters game, is incorrect compared to real life. So that is not a genuine DRS zone in this real life circuit. So technically, in real life, you have 17 corners before you get to the first DRS zone on this track. There are so many corners around this track to think about, and while there is 27 corners on the track map, it's more or less about 14 or 15 genuine corners on this track. It's all about making sure you don't overcook the corner before, so you mess up the corner afterwards, isn't it? You've really got to find momentum around here.
Yeah, and as you were saying, with Sector 1, all the corners that are quite twisty as well. You have to have right back to back as well, so very tricky to get right. And I think this is the track probably with the biggest setup differences. Some people will be favouring the higher wings to be quicker in Sector 1, and some will be favouring lower wings to be more suited to the track map of like Sector 3.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be those that may be a little bit less confident in their abilities at this track, going for the higher downforce in the first part of the lap. Of course, there's really no margin for error around here. If you spin, there are really no runoff areas apart from turn 27, where we're going through now with Darry. So Darry's going to take us through our first lap around this circuit. We're looking for pole position to be probably in the low 27s, so look out for that this evening as Darry takes us through the 27-turned track of Jeddah, the second longest track on the calendar after Spa. But of course, remember, this track will be gone by 2023 in real life, replaced by the longest track on the F1 calendar in the Kidius city that is currently being built. Then through the first sector for Darry, heading through this famous S section in the first part of the lap. Then through turns 8 and 9, we are monitoring track limits there. And as I say that, Darry has been a little bit too wide through 8 and run wide and invalidated just before getting to turn 9. So easy to do, as proved there. We'll go with Kamke, who's on a run at the moment. Joint 10th in the standings currently with Passé. Hasn't shone in terms of speed, but has been very consistent so far this season. But there already you can see missing the apex by quite a way through turn 10, and that's going to affect you all the way up towards the hairpin of turn 13, the banked left-handed corner, which was intended to be a good overtaking opportunity, but the amount of corners you have in the first part of the lap means you can't really get close enough into that corner. Then through turn 16 and 17, the quick chicane before this twisting back straight where the DRS zone should be in this game, but it's not. So a long curved straight here up towards the very short braking zone of turn number 22. Of course, we see many crashes here in real life. Mick Schumacher, of course, in the race, Charles Leclerc in practice as well. And now into the second DRS zone on the track, then running through turns 25 and 26. Kamke giving the wall a bit of a love tap there on the way down through turn 26. And then the final corner of turn 27 as well. Takes a bit of an early turn into that corner, does Kamke, tucks to the wall and then gets a short run out of the corner. Longish run to the line here, but of course there is quite a long pit straight. Derating before the line, and Kamke does a 29.6, the first time in the session. That's your first lap around this Jeddah Street Circuit, and immediately Marty has gone 2 seconds faster than Kamke, and that's going to be the story of this evening, really, isn't it? You mentioned the differences people are going to have in setups. I think the field spread at this track is going to be pretty massive.
Yeah, and it's one of them tracks that favours your device a lot more, as it's more prone towards the wheel drivers. I was on board with Matt. That was a very neat lap. Just a few little mistakes in sets 2, but if he cleans that up, I think he can get well within the 26s, which I would expect him to be the pole time tonight.
Yeah, expecting to be around there, like you say. Knight then coming around on a lap at the moment, just coming towards the end of it as it stands. Marty still holding that fastest time at the moment from Tope, who, of course, he's got pole, I believe, 3 times this season has Tope. So one of the, if not the strongest qualifier of the season so far has the Williams driver been. Still waiting to see laps from some other drivers in this field as well. We've had 3 drivers as well go out on the medium compound tyres. That is Passé, RJ and Luke. So 28.4s for Passé and RJ. Luke a little bit further behind on a 29.2. Darry looks like he's going again on the same set of tyres. Noah J, I think that was just crossed the line, that has gone up into P4 in the Mercedes. Darry then around the final corner and up towards the line. Where can he put his Williams? Again, a strong qualifier this season, was on pole for the first race at Imola. Crosses the line now, and it's quite a way off the pace. 28 flat. He's nearly 4/10 of a second off pole, down in 5th. But that, crucially, of course, on the second lap on his set of tyres. So first run's done. Majority of drivers have got their times on the board. We've just seen Malt Maverick start his first run in the session. And yeah, drivers struggling already, it seems, with track limits. And that is something that, again, we're going to be talking about a lot this evening. Track limits here are really, really easy to fall out of bounds.
Yeah, because you're carrying a lot of speed, especially through sector 1, so it's very easy to just go a little bit too wide and exceed the track limits and pick up an invalidation or a warning in the race, which could lead to more time penalties. But the 2 drivers that have shocked me probably the most are Passé and RJ. They're not usually the strongest qualifiers, but a 28.4 in the mediums is a very strong time, as the delta between the medium and softs is around 1 second, I'd say.
Yeah, it seems to be around 1 second so far, what we've seen from this week. So yeah, pretty solid laps from the 2 of them. And like you say, they've not been the strongest qualifiers this season. Passé with 1 front row start to his name, and I don't think RJ started inside the top 4 yet so far this season. So yeah, strong times for them so far. But of course, RJ was a dominant winner in the Monaco race. So this should be a track, you would say, on paper that would suit RJ. Of course, second in the championship to Rekurik, who is currently 3rd on the timesheets at the moment. We're still running with Maverick in the Red Bull on his lap at the moment, coming up towards turn number 27. So we'll see where he can put this car. Of course, one of the highest average speeds for a circuit on the calendar as well. So this track, while it is very long, is over in a flash, and he comes up towards the line now. Derating as per usual towards the line, and it's only a 28.8 from Maverick. The Red Bulls have not been strong in qualifying really all season long, but they've been pretty solid in race trim, so maybe looking more towards race trim as EVG Rom goes into 4th position. And that's one thing to note. So 2 new drivers this evening. EVG Rom in the Alfa Romeo, filling in for Reds this evening, and then we've got Alchemist in the Aston Martin, filling in for Miami this evening at the moment. So those are 2 new drivers to look out for this evening. Still yet to see times from Mats Weichwey and Knight at the moment. They've not put anything on the board, but so far it seems Marty seems to be the most confident out there.
Yeah, and I mean, just that time as a banker on softs just gives you a lot of confidence the rest of the session as you can push in the next few laps. But the people who haven't set laps yet, like YHYY and Knight, they've got a lot of pressure to get a lap on the board, so they're going to have to take it a little bit easy, which is going to hamper their laps overall.
Yeah, going to happen them, like you say, just caught YHY running a little bit wide there through turn number 5 and not using all of the row through turns 8 and 9 here. Cutting across the inside curb of 10 keeps it just within the bounds, but that first sector 30.7 is not the fastest we're going to see this evening. We're going to be seeing people down towards maybe a 0.3 or a 0.2 in the first part of the lap. So not looking so strong so far for YHY. Of course, looked like he could have won the Portimao race in changing conditions before the conditions changed again and went back against him and he dropped down the field. It was looking like a brilliant strategy call from the Haas driver. It didn't pay off in the end, and he made another bold strategy call last time out at Silverstone that cost him big time in the wet as well. So maybe he hasn't scored the points that his pace has deserved so far this season through 22. Not quite sticking to the inside wall of the corner, but it is so easy to hit the wall on the inside of a corner here. You're so committed throughout the entire lap that one slight tap with the wall when it could be complete game over in this qualifying session. Coming up to turn 27 then to finish the lap. We'll see where the Haas driver goes, but it doesn't look like this is going to be troubling the top times at the moment. Out of the final corner and up towards the start-finish line goes the Haas, crosses the start-finish line, and it's P9 at 28.4, and still the field spread is pretty big. That goes in between Passé and RJ, who were both on the medium compound tyres, remember, as well, and the top 10 separated by, well, just under 0.8 of a second.
Yeah, and it just shows how difficult this track is to get right. It's got a large field spread, so I'm currently on board with Rickerish, and after the first sector, he's already 5 tenths up on his time. So if he can continue this lap and just probably match his last lap in sector 2 and 3, he will be on pole by 3 tenths to Marta. So he's got a lot of speed in hand, and he just has to make sure it's clean for the rest of the lap.
Yeah, that's the key with getting a banker on the board as well. You've got something to aim off of. So 5 tenths in the first sector. Very strong start to the lap then for the Haas. And he's found a further 10th in the middle part of the lap. So he's getting faster and faster. He's getting close to the 26s here with this time possibly is Recuric. So we'll see what the championship leader can do in the final part of this lap. Tope is on a lap as well. RJ and Passé have just started their first runs on the soft compound tyres as well, so we'll wait to see what they can do. But Recuric round the final corner. It's looked a very strong lap so far, and this could be a very commanding provisional pole time from the Haas driver. Then up towards the line comes Recuric, crosses the line, and there you go. He lost a little bit of time in the final sector, but it's still a 27.2 to go 4 tenths clear at the top of the timesheets. That is a real target for some of these drivers to hit. That's a real marker laid down by our championship leader.
Yeah, 4 tenths clear the rest of the field. So Marty there, he's got to get the perfect lap in here, or I don't think he'll be getting the pole position tonight. As unfortunately, I think Luca 5 has just disconnected from the session.
Yeah, that's a shame. Noah J looked like he was 0.2 of a second up, but has made a mistake in the final part of the lap and has not improved. Passé on his first one on the softs goes into P2, but still over 0.3 shy of our current pole time at the moment. Has Passé gone? We'll see where RJ is on a lap at the moment. Currently 10th on the grid. He's actually invalidated his first run on the soft compound tyres. His teammate Old School crosses the line, and Old School goes into P9 on a 28.4, I believe, on his first run on the softs as well. So P9 for the time being for the podium sitter from last time out. Still a very big field spread, especially with that time from Recuric. Now the field spread is even bigger. Tope also invalidated his next one in the session. Dowry's invalidated. So a lot of drivers struggling to put laps on the boards. RJ's going again on the same set of tyres. He may as well. Knight's not improved on his next run. Brent's not improving by the looks of things on his run. Actually, I think he's just started a run as the AlphaTauri driver, but already not looking very committed through the first part of the lap. So, yeah, everybody kind of on edge at the moment, but that's kind of what we expected around a track like this.
Yeah, and it's a bit disappointing to see because some drivers there, it's just making the field spread stay as large as it is at the moment, and it's very easy to make a mistake, so it's not surprising me seeing this, but it's just rather disappointing as the field spread at the top of the field was quite large.
Yeah, really big at the moment. Like you say, still 3.5 tenths of a second covering the top 2 on the grid at the moment. So a long way to go. Alchemist has just crossed the line, stays in 19th on a 29.8, slowest driver in the session so far. Luke, of course, disconnecting, not what he needs championship-wise. 4th in the championship, only 2 points behind Tope, not that far off the championship lead, but he currently sits 17th on the grid at the moment. Luke has been very consistent this season, picking up top 5s, top 4 finishes where he can. So he really needs to hopefully get back into the lobby and get everything sorted and put a good lap time on the board. But following Brent to the end of his run then in the AlphaTauri, RJ I think is just in front of him, maybe has backed off his lap, so won't be improving on that set of tyres, and Brent might get a slight tow on the run up towards the line, but he probably wouldn't have gained much from it. Brent then across the line, currently 13th, goes P3, found 1.1 seconds from his medium run, goes up into third position, but that is still a long way off for Kurik's time at the top of the timesheets. As I say that, RJ was on a lap, that was Old School in front of him. RJ crosses the line and goes within 0.03 of a second of a Kurik at the top of the timesheets, and that's exactly why those two are the top in the championship at the moment. When they need to pull it out the bag, they do.
Yeah, very strong lap there from RJ, but I think the one thing that's going to be a bit of a concern for him at the moment is that's his second lap on them soft tyres, so if he can't improve on his next lap, he's going to be starting on much older tyres, and around this track it's not much of a difference, but it can just give that extra tenth or two towards Kurik in the race, so it's not really what the Britishman will want.
No, definitely not what we want to have that happen. So, yeah, fingers crossed he can improve on that second run, like you say. We'll see if anybody else is on a lap at the moment. Rom just started a lap, but has invalidated in the first sector somewhere, so they won't be improving on their time for the time being. Alt Maverick in the Red Bull has just whacked the wall, Max Verstappen style, coming out of the final corner on an invalidated lap, so he's diving back into the pit lane. Mats is on a run, 0.3 up in the first sector, but he needs a lot of time to be getting anywhere near the top 10 at the moment. He's nearly a second off the top 10 as it stands, so he'll need to find a lot more time for the rest of this lap to be troubling the top times. He's now half a second up on his time, but that's still not near enough to be troubling the top 10 at the moment. There's a big gap between 10th place Rex, winner of course last time out, and Old School in 11th, nearly 4/10 separating those two drivers in 10th and 11th at the moment, so the pack does seem to be pretty much split in two as to who's looking confident and who isn't so far this evening. Matt's through the final corner then, and up towards the line in the AlphaTauri. Where can he put that car on the grid so far then? Up towards the line he goes. Gone for 16th on the grid. He would jump up into P11. Splits that gap between Old School and Rex, but still nowhere near troubling the top 10 at the moment.
Yeah, and being 2 tenths behind Rex, and especially around this track where it's difficult to hook it up, but there's also it's mostly flat out, so it's quite difficult and not. It's surprising to see that much of a gap, and 2 tenths behind with being on the older tyres, it's not going to be too great there for the AlphaTauri driver.
Yeah, definitely not being. The mediums aren't that good of a tyre at the very start of the race. They do level out probably around lap 4 or 5-ish, but for the very start of the race, the medium tyre doesn't give that much grip. So some drivers could be struggling at the start of this race if they're on that alternate strategy. Taupe looks like he's going to be the first person to start their final run in this session. I think giving himself enough time just in case he invalidates this first run in this session. We'll ride for him through the first sector then, see what he can find. He's still 0.4 of a second off pole position at the moment. 5 cents, off pole position. He's been so strong in qualifying all season long, and he's turned in too early for turn 8 and cut the inside. And again, we're seeing drivers invalidate in the first sector. That, I think, is the third time that Taupe has now invalidated in the first part of the lap in this qualifying session. So that does not bode well for him in the race either, that he's struggling to keep the car on the road.
Oh, and yeah, I was just, sorry to cut you off there, but I was on board with Ron then through to, I'm not too sure on the car, I think it's turn 25 or something, but just had a bit of a snap on the race midway through the corner and just lost it, hit the wall, broke his front wing, and then just couldn't slow down the car and went straight on into the wall ahead.
Yeah, that's a shame. Just caught the very end of that. He looked like he was about 0.3 up on his time through that middle sector. So, yeah, that is a real shame, unfortunately, for the debutant this evening. That looked like it could have started to get towards the top 6 in the session, but he won't be going any further in this qualifying session. Nobody then currently on a lap as it stands. Taupe, of course, his time is invalidated and he's backed completely off on his run up towards the line. Nobody as it stands is on a lap. Everybody is on their out laps in this session, I believe. So just waiting to see what everybody does for the final run. Some drivers leaving it very late to come out of the pit lane. RJ, one of those. Noah J. Mats, of course, who's only just finished a run. Knight still in the pits. Lucas just rejoined the session, and Alchemist is also still in the pit. So a lot of drivers leaving it very late in this session to get their run started. Marty now the first driver to get their final run started in this session. So we'll ride with him. Provisional pole sitter from the early runs, but since then hasn't been able to improve. Still in 5th place, so it's not a bad qualifying result by any means if he stays there, but he'll be hoping to gain a bit more time, just a couple of hundredths, and he'll get up onto the second row of the grid. Through the first sector, the Alpine driver keeps it within the track limits nicely as he comes up towards the first sector split, and he's gone 0.2 faster in the first sector. So we've seen this a lot this evening, drivers finding big chunks of time in different sectors.
Yeah, and especially in Sector 1, I'd say that's where most of the time will be to gain for the drivers, there's on those corners. Sector 2 was only 1 or 2 corners, so it's not much, it's quite hard to gain a lot of time, but then Sector 3 is only 2 corners as well, so Sector 1 is the biggest area where all the time is made and where the lap is produced.
Yeah, exactly. That's where you're going to find the most time. Marty has now gained another 10th in the middle sector, so he's getting close to challenging our top two in this session. A little bit wide there through turn 22, but gets away with it. We'll see what he can do for the final sector. Can he challenge Rekurik and RJ at the top of the timesheets, or will it slot in between RJ and Passe at the front of the field? Then Marty up towards turn 27. Nice simple corner to finish the lap. Gets the car turned in very nicely and gets on the power early coming out of the corner. It's been a strong lap from Marty. Then up towards the line comes the Alpine driver, crosses the line, and he goes right in between them, 1,000th of a second faster than RJ. Good lap time for Marty. Not quite pole position, but it is right up there. Old School's improved to go P7 in his McLaren car, has gone half a second quicker. Across the line comes Bunty and goes P13 for the time being. Into the pit lanes came, I think, maybe the other Alpine driver. Tope crossed the line, hasn't improved, but he's got enough time to go for another run in this session. It was Rex that dived into the pits. They've not improved. RJ now just starts their final run. We'll see who else is on a lap. Brent, I don't think. No, Brent has broken his front wing, so Brent will not be improving on his time. Rekurik's on a run, but he is not improving on his own pace at the moment. His lap was so good that he can't seem to find any time at the moment. White Chawai crosses the line, does exactly the same time as Noah J, but because he said it after Noah J, he is 10th instead of 9th. Rekurik up towards the line and found a 10th and a half in the final sector and improves on his provisional pole time of 27.1 from Rekurik. Can anybody get close to that? RJ still in the early phases of a run. Passe is only a 10th up in the middle sector, so he won't be challenging for the pole position this evening unless he sets a blistering final sector. Brent crosses the line, does not improve as you would expect. Knight crosses the line, doesn't improve, stays P15. Into the pit lane comes, I believe that was Maverick and Darry. They've not improved on their times. Passe will be next to cross the line, comes up towards the line now. Where can the Ferrari driver go? Crosses the line, stays 4. Found a little bit more time in that final sector, but still quite a way off the times at the top of the sheet. Then I think Noah J will be next to cross the line in the Mercedes. He's currently 9th on the grid, crosses the line, goes 8th on a 27.9. So we just wait for RJ to see what he can do in this session. He'll be the last one to finish a lap in this qualifying session. He's a 10th up through the middle sector, needs to find a little bit more time in the final part of the lap to steal pole away from his championship rival. Can he do it as he comes up towards the line? No, he can't. He lost a bit of time towards the end of the lap, and it's Rekurik on pole for the first time this season with quite a commanding time at the very top.
Yeah, very strong time there from Rekurik, going a 10th and a half clear of the rest of the fields. And he's very consistent as well in the race, Rekurik. So if he can continue his form, I think he's got a good chance of winning this race. But RJ as well, very consistent driver, so I think them two will be fighting out for the win tonight.
Yeah, very, very strong times for them. In fact, if Rekurik hadn't set that final run, RJ would be on pole by 1,000th of a second at the moment. It would have been that close. But Rekurik just finding that extra little bit in the final sector on his final run and improves to take provisional pole. Championship leader then defending his championship lead nicely, doing the best possible job he can to try and help extend that championship lead going into round 8. It's a 10th and a half separating the top two. Rekurik from RJ. Marty with a strong qualifying in 3rd position. Just what he needed after we were talking about his lackluster start to the season. Passe in 4th position, kind of in no man's land. 2/10 off Marty and 2/10 ahead of Brent, who is in 5th position. Tope, one of the strongest qualifiers this season. 7/10 of a second off pole in 6th. Then it's Old School 7th. Noah J. Rom on debut in the top 10. And White to Eye rounds off the top 10. It's Darry in that alternate strategy pole position in 11th, ahead of last week's winner Rex in 12th. Matt's in 13th, Bunty, Knight, Maverick, Camke, Luke and Alchemist. Your times. Alchemist not really able to improve on his time, and Luke having been out of the session for the majority of it for disconnecting. So a few drivers, you've got to say, with some work to do in this race. Not least of them really is Luke, isn't it? Unfortunate for him to disconnect in qualifying. 4th in the championship. He really needs a strong run in this race.
Yeah, and to say his championship rivals are currently P1, 2 and 6th on the grid, he's got a massive task ahead of him there to get, to try to gain points on his rivals. But another outlier for me, it has to be Darry. Is one of the strongest qualifiers this entire season, and he's in P11, so he's got the alternate strategy which is going to help him, but P11 from the German there's rather disappointing.
Yeah, disappointing. Like you say, pole sitter in Imola at the very first race of the season has been a podium sitter as well. He was right up there in Monaco, of course, pole sitter in Monaco as well. So, yeah, surprised maybe at a track like this, which is more similar in a sense to the tracks like Imola and Monaco, where it is very flowing and all about quick direction changes. Surprised really to see him struggle in this qualifying session, but of course there's 25 laps ahead of us around this Jeddah circuit. This race can go by very quickly if there's no safety cars, because the track is so high speed and there's not a lot of laps. That actually, this is the shortest race in terms of time on the calendar that we will have. It's shorter than Monza, it's shorter than Spa. However, that is if we don't get any safety cars, and I think it's fairly safe to say that we can expect safety cars in this race.
Yeah, it's just very easy to lose the race, which is always wrong in qualifying, so wouldn't surprise me if we see one or two safety cars, as it's just the high-speed nature of this track. It's just very easy to lose the rear end around most corners, so there's a lot of areas to crash, so the drivers have to be very careful to make sure they don't either hit the wall and break the wing, or lose the rear end and smash their front wheel off.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for some of these drivers. It looks like it could be a pretty difficult race, this one. Of course, 25 high-speed laps ahead of us. Hard to keep concentration around this track for 25 laps with the walls being so close as well. Having a look at the tyre strategies outside the top 10, everybody is on the mediums apart from Maverick in 16th and Luke in 18th. Maverick may be expecting an early safety car in this race. Luke has only just got going on the formation lap by the looks of things, so he's a bit far down at the back of the field. He'll hopefully catch up pretty quickly, and he's disconnected from the session again, unfortunately, by the looks of things. So hopefully Luke is able to rejoin once the race starts, and hopefully that won't break the lobby. We'll wait and see, but we may have a broken lobby with that one. Well, fingers crossed, touch wood, that hasn't done that, but some of these drivers may be waiting on the grid for a little bit of a long time while they wait for Luke's AI car to come back around. So talking about lap ones around this track, we've mentioned it already. There's 12 corners in between the start-finish line and the first DRS zone. There's 12 corners, really, in between turn one and the first overtaking opportunity on this track. So this first lap and this first sector especially is going to be all about being kind to one another and not putting it in the wall.
Yeah, and just as you were saying there, a lot of corners all bunched up next to each other. Constantina, in fact, in just a tiny braking zone is massive, so the drivers have to be extra careful to lose rejoin the lobby in the formation lap. So fingers crossed that doesn't damage the lobby, but we can hope so. But as you were just saying then, it's likely we're going to have seen a few front wings broken on this first lap.
Yeah, very likely that could be the case. So we'll keep an eye out for that one. I'd like to say, fingers crossed, Luke hasn't broken the lobby with his poor connection this evening. We'll wait and see. But, well, only time will tell. We may have to have a little bit of a chat about other things. So, Chicken, think of some different topics maybe while we wait. But before we get going, if this lobby does get going, who do you think is going to be the winner of this race?
I was just about to ask you the same thing, so I will go for RJ for P1, Rickerick for P2, and I'd say Dari for P3 on the alternate strategy.
Yeah, definitely one to look out for. I think I may agree with you with RJ. If RJ qualifies well, you know he's going to be strong in the race. So, yeah, I think RJ could be the winner here this evening. I'm looking at Tope to have a strong race once again as well. He's been strong in races all season long. So, yeah, Tope could be right up there as well. And I don't imagine it's going to be difficult for Rickerick to keep a position at the front of this race. So we just wait for Luke's AI car to drop into its grid slot. It's a little bit further behind everybody else. You can just see it there in the bottom left hand of your screen. Hopefully once it locks into place, we shall get going. We shall wait and see. So the car is into its space, I believe, just about now. So fingers crossed this lobby gets going and we get going for the start of this race. It does look like everything is working. No, it is not. Luke's car was just moving off the line there, but there we go. Okay, we are working then. Here come the lights then ahead of the drivers. Lights are out very quickly, and away they go. Rickerick off the line gets a very good start by the looks of things. It's Marty from third on the grid that's looking like he could have a strong run around the outside of turn one, making the inside for turn number two. Strong start from Martin, who's got up into second position on the run up towards turn number three. Passe holding into fourth place as Tope tries to get the move done on Brent up in towards turn number four and does get the move done. So Tope up a place on this opening lap. Marty up a place as well. They're nearly side by side behind there. Noah J trying to work his way around Old School but can't find a way through. It's a bit Constantina towards the back of the field, as you would expect, but so far everybody's been playing fair and nicely. There's no real damage, I think, from anybody. Noah J going to try and go round the outside, maybe up towards turn number 13 on the McLaren of Old School. Can he hold it around the outside? Not quite. He's just about there, but he's lost the rear of the car, and too eager to try and get past the McLaren, has lost the rear of the car, hit the wall and damaged his front wing, and that is pretty much race over for Noah J unless there's a safety car, and him being very slow there, coming back onto the track right in the side of Bunty's car. He really needs to back off and let everybody through with that damage, but that is a disaster for him, and what that has done has spread some of the field out a bit further down.
Yeah, so we've got a large field spread now, and just a bit silly there from Noah J to rejoin the track with a broken front wing at that pace. Hopefully, he don't get. I think it wouldn't surprise me if he gets penalised for that later on in the race from the stewards. But I'd say Old School having a bit of a poor start there, as he was under pressure immediately from Noah J, and he's already fallen nearly a second behind Brent.
Yeah, already fallen a bit behind Rom as well, now up into 8th past White Chawai as White Chawai's into the pits. I wonder if he's got damage from that incident. Maybe he's in then at the end of lap 1. Rom bit disconnected as well because of that incident for Noah J. Maverick was the other one that had damage in that as well, so he is into the pit lane from 18th. He suffered from that rejoin, unfortunately, so his strategy of cycling on the softs looks like it may not work for him. A bit further down, the top 7 already split from the rest of the field. Well, RJ is going for the move on Marty in the first sector. Marty must have made a mistake somewhere in that first part of the lap. RJ is through and back up into second place, but that's given a comfortable lead now to Rakurik in the way. So if Rakurik can try and break and hold that gap, Rakurik could be out of DRS range before it's even got going.
Yes, it's been a really good start there for Rakurik, and I was on board then with that little overtake there from RJ, and he just, Marty just lost the rear of the car, had a massive snap of oversteers, no DNF'd around the back of the field, and that's caused a virtual safety car, but RJ took full advantage of the oversteer and went down the inside, which then turned into the outside of the corner, which was a brilliant move there from the McLaren driver.
Yeah, brilliant move from RJ, like you say. Virtual safety car then for Noah J, who was crashed on the way out of the pit lane by the looks of things. So Mercedes driver not had the best of seasons so far, and that continues here this evening, unfortunately. The virtual safety car should be ending fairly soon, you would say, but RJ could use this as an opportunity to get back within DRS range of the Haas car if he nails this restart. Marty as well has got to be close enough to make sure he capitalises. Passe maybe as well needs to be a bit closer. What this will do is build everybody's ERS usage back up now. So if anybody was burning ERS at the start of this race to try and build gaps, that's no longer really a factor, as it's all pretty much back up to 100% by the end of this lap. It's been a pretty long virtual safety car period, but it should be ending hopefully fairly soon. It's not changing to a full safety car in any time, it doesn't seem. So yeah, just waiting for this one to get going. Leader of those on the alternate strategy at the moment is Rex in 9th. He's got ahead of Dari. There we go. We are back going again in this race, and Rakurik has managed to maintain a strong hold on this race. The person who had a poor restart there was Passe. Passe now out of DRS range to Marty.
Yeah, so a good reaction time there from the French drivers. I think he just went a little bit too quick, so he had to slow down to get his delta. As I think Rex down the back of the field last week's race winner has spun in sector 1.
Yeah, he has. I was just about to say he was the lead of those on the alternate strategy, but he's dropped the car through turn number 8 by the looks of things, and he's dropped down the field, so that puts Dari back into that lead position on that alternate strategy. But with that whole incident on lap 1, he's now 2.5 seconds behind that queue of soft runners, so he's already detached, and Luke is there as well. Despite disconnecting multiple times in the session so far, on the softs he's managed to work his way up into 11th and nearly into the top 10, so it's been a good recovery so far from the Aston Martin. Lovely overhead shot here as we've got another yellow flag. That is Maverick at the back of the field having a horror show of a race, trying to recover from that early damage by the looks of things. Luke then on the back of Bunty for a spot in the top 10. Surely this should be an easy move done here. He's using his ERS. It's going to go around the outside of turn 25 and 26. Should get the move done well before turn 27, and does so. Luke then up into the top 10, and it's been a good recovery so far.
Yeah, it's been a great recovery there from not even being in control of his car on the formation lap, so his tyres would have been freezing. Already into the top 10 there, and he's looking eager to get past Dari. He was using his ERS down the back straight.
Yeah, he was using it down there, but not quite close enough for a move in towards turn number 1, so we'll stay in 10th for the time being. RJ still not able to get back within range of Rakurik at the front of the field. Marty holding on nicely in third. Passe, without that DRS on that lap, is now dropping back from our top 3 in this race, so he's struggling to keep up with our podium sitters at the moment. He's got Taupe, Brent and Old School just behind. Rom as well. This is interesting as well. Rom, of course, lost time as he's just gone completely off there at turn number 10. That could be maybe a warning for him after this race. But Rom, of course, lost a lot of time on that opening lap, being stuck behind Noah J's damaged car, and has managed to gain back up. And as I say that, he's just whacked the wall himself, so I would not be surprised if that's some sort of damage.
Yeah, and a bit of a silly mistake there from Rom, getting a bit too eager on the traction, and I think that is front wing damage. It's a bit of a 3-second time penalty, and probably not the only 3-second time penalty of the night, as it wouldn't surprise me now if we see in box at the end of this lap for a new set of tyres and a fresh wing.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised, like you say, should be coming in at the end of this lap. Maverick has retired in the pit lane, bit of a horror show, unfortunately, for the Red Bull drivers. So, yeah, Rom, you can see they're really understeering through turn 22. Has definitely got some damage on that car, so will not be looking like he'll be playing a factor in this race any longer, unless there is a safety car, of course. To the front of the field, Recurric still leading, pulling away from RJ. RJ under big pressure from Marty behind. Passe is being swamped here. Tope all over the back of him. Tope down the inside on the run towards turn 1. Gets them before he even gets to the line. Passe here really struggling for pace and is now back behind Tope. What maybe this could be a good thing for Passe, and that Tope could now maybe drag that queue of cars towards RJ and Marty. And actually, RJ and Marty battling there for second place. Marty trying to get the move done coming out of turn number 2, but wasn't quite far enough alongside to pull the move off. RJ holds second, but that could bring Tope back into play, and it's just letting Recurric get further and further away into the distance.
Yeah, and one thing I just want to say, that move from Tope was excellent. He set up the final corner brilliantly, got the cut back on past edge, he forced him to go defensive, and then just got the DRS and breezed past him on the straight. So it was a good move there from the German driver.
Yeah, setting them up into the final corner. That's what you need to do, really, around this track. We'll see possibly a lot of drivers this evening playing DRS chicken into that final corner. It's something that, of course, happened in real life, and DRS is so powerful here that you'd want to be the car behind on the majority of occasions. So, yeah, wouldn't be surprised if you see that a lot so far this evening. Tope trying his absolute hardest to get closer to Marty in front, but it's still quite a bit of a gap. Tope does have some ERS in his back pocket to use, but he's going to have to rely on Marty trying another move on RJ really to get him back close enough. It's, as you mentioned earlier on, it's going to be so difficult once you drop out of DRS range to get back within range. And Tope from Passe and RJ here really proving it. They may have good pace, but the lack of DRS is just meaning that they just can't go anywhere. As now Mats has crashed. Mats and Bunty have crashed here, coming through turn 24 and 5, and that is a full safety car. So that helps those at the back of the field. What that doesn't do is help any of those on the alternate strategy. Marty, interestingly, stays out. He is the only one of our lead runners to stay out on the track. Everybody else into the pits.
Yeah, it's a bit surprising there from Marty. The media's keen to go down there, but that crash was really confusing there from Mats and Bunty. It was halfway down the straight, so I don't know if just due to the curving of the straight, they've just come together and span each other out, and so on. It's a bit surprising.
Yeah, really surprising, like you say. It's a little bit of an odd position, unless one of them crashed and the other crashed into a crashed car. But it's, yeah, really, really bizarre, like you say, to be that far down the straight and have an accident. So, yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll probably see afterwards how that one came about. Recurric then holds the net lead, but that big gap that he had has now gone. RJ holds net second. Tope then up into a net third with Passe right behind Brent and Old School there, of course. What this has done is put Luke back into the fray. Luke starting on the soft compound tyres, of course, at the back of the field. Now onto the mediums. He's on the same strategy of all of our leaders, but he's now right with our leaders. So Luke here has been massively advantage. Has gained a massive advantage from this safety car.
Yeah, and he's just not giving up this race at all, has he? Just after a couple of disconnects early on, missing out on qualifying, he's kept his head down, he's worked his way, and he's already back into the top 10.
Yeah, already back in the top 10, like you say. Cam K, the car right behind him. Rom as well, been a little bit saved by that safety car, of course, having damaged his front wing the lap previous. So that is somewhat of a saving grace for the Alfa Romeo driver then. Only 3 drivers stayed out under that safety car period. Darry and Knight, you would understand, they are on the alternate strategy. They need to try something different. Marty, though, from the lead of this race, we know the tyre wear isn't strong around here, so tyre wear is not really going to be a problem for these drivers this evening. So Marty can take these soft tyres quite a way into this race, you would say. You can probably take them to mid-distance at this track on these soft tyres and be fine. However, the lead of those of those that have already pitted is only in 4th. So by Marty staying out here, he's going to lose so much track position to the cars behind when he pits.
Yeah, and effectively, he's just given Recurric a free 17 seconds on him. I think that's around the pit loss around this track. And Luke's disconnected once again, which is a bit unfortunate. So hopefully he can get back into his car under the safety car. But it's very surprising the strategy from Marty is Knight is coming to the pits.
Yeah, Knight into the pit lane from second place. We'll see what this is for. I would imagine it's for soft compound tyres, but those aren't going to go to the end of the race. He's damaged his front wing somewhere, actually, has Knight. So don't know if he's damaged that under the safety car, but he's in for a fresh set of soft compound tyres. That will drop him probably down towards the very back of the field. Rex and White a little bit further behind, but I don't imagine he'll be behind that. I don't think he'll be ahead of those, and though he does get to cut across the inside of turn one, so he may be just ahead of them as they come out of the pit lane. But either way, that's his strategy ruined, and what that does do is take one less car out of the equation between Marty and Rekurik. So just keeps falling away from Marty in this race, and this is the problem, really. We've mentioned it so far. We mentioned it early in the stream that Marty needs a good result, really, in his championship. He's got great pace, but hasn't had the results. They've come from a lot of mistakes, and this, to me, seems like a very easy strategy mistake from the Alpine, unless he knows something we don't know about these soft tyres.
Yeah, maybe he's going to try extend his stint a lot longer, and maybe just go for the freshest set of mediums kind of at the end and just use his pure pace to try and catch up back up to leaders. But yeah, I'm not too sure on what the strategy call is here, but we can hope it pays off for the Bulgarian.
Yeah, we hope it pays off, like you say, trying to use that pace back up to the field. But we've already seen that if you're not within DRS range of the cars in front who are within DRS, it doesn't really matter what pace you have. You just can't close in because of how powerful the DRS is at this track. So it's a bold strategy call. I mean, we could have a late safety car that could play back into Marty's favour, so that could be something he looks out for. But either way, it's going to be a long old race here for Marty to get back to where he was in this race, of course, which was a net third position in this order. We should be getting going, I think, on this lap for the safety car, but the safety car doesn't seem to want to come in, maybe, by the looks of things. Oh, no, never mind. At the DRS line, it's decided it wants to come in. So safety car in this lap, then we'll be starting lap 8 when we come around the line. It's a bit of an early stop for the medium runners, but they shouldn't have any problem getting these tyres to the end of the race. It is all about really what Marty and Dari do from here, what they do with this strategy. Of course, Dari's teammate Topin in net third, only 3 places behind him on the road, so you would imagine they're going to put up too much of a fight. Then when does Marty go for the safety car restart? He's waiting around the final corner. Goes now. So Marty has gone for the safety car restart. Who's had a good and who's had a bad restart? Dari's actually had a very good restart on the back of the Alpine coming up towards turn number 1. This is not what Marty needs whatsoever. Down the inside goes Dari, late on the brakes for turn number 1, and Dari's got the move done. Marty's going to try and go back round the outside of turn number 2, which will make the inside for 4. He's got the grip on the soft compound tyres to do it, manages to regain the place, but that was not the safety car restart Marty needed. That's a little bit of waste of time. Able to hold on to the lead still, but Dari almost caught the race leader napping at the restart.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what happened there, because it seemed Marty got the jump now on Dari, but just a slipstream into the ERS usage there of Dari, he had a massive pace advantage on the main straight there on Marty, and just managed to pull alongside and go for the move. But it was great driving there from the pair of them to make no contact, and a good little battle for him to take over.
Yeah, good little battle, like you say. Now Rekurik tucked up behind the Williams of Dari here, and you can see RJ right up behind as well, trying to force a way through on the Haas and into the net lead of this race. Of course, these two, well, the top 3 in the championship, sit in a net top 3 in the race at the moment, in the order that they are in the championship. So RJ will want to try and get a move done here on Rekurik, but Rekurik, of course, tucked right behind Dari at this point in the race. Marty, on those soft tyres, is starting to drive away at the front of the field. Hasn't quite broken that second barrier, but is getting close to it. One person who is struggling at this restart is Old School. He's got Luke right behind, trying to go round the outside at turn number 26 into 27. Luke looks like he's going to get the move done before the hairpin. Down the inside, Old School tries to hang it down the inside, but isn't close enough. Luke up another place in this race. He's up into 8th on the road, a net 6th in this race now with all these safety cars, but crucially, he's been dropped out of that second behind our net leaders in this race.
Yeah, but I think he'll be able to get in by the end of this lap here, as the Constantina effect from the top drivers are just going to slow them down a lot. Yeah, and he's already back within the range there just through the first sector alone, but it's on the border, so he's going to want to still push a bit more just to get comfortable with the 1 second window.
Yeah, like you say, the fact that Dari's at the lead of this queue really concentrating this pack up and causing them not to be at full pace. So, yeah, Luke making the opportunity when he can and not losing too much from it. Rom has got moved on Kamke, who's had a moment by the looks of things at turn number 9. He's got going once again, I think without any damage by the looks of things, but another driver to have a wobble in that first sector through that complex of turns 8, 9 and 10. So drivers really struggling there as White White and Alchemist go side by side into turn number 13. White White round the outside of the Aston Martin gets the move done nice and easily and up into 14th place as Rekurik, our net race leader, gets a time penalty. We mentioned time penalties are going to play a part in this race. That is crucial for Rekurik, because as it stands, if the race were to finish now, Rekurik would drop well down the field. He'd drop probably down behind the likes of Luke and Old School.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a silly mistake there from Rekurik. Just had a little bit of a snap and just had to go over the runoff just to make sure he didn't hit the wall. And so yeah, he's going to have to push even hard now to compensate for the penalty. But he's going for the move here on Dari. It seems getting really close, but not close enough. And RJ seems to be the quicker driver out of the two at the moment.
Yeah, on the medium tyres at least, RJ looking a bit more comfortable. Passe was getting close to the back of Tope as well, but not quite able to get a move done into the final corner. Now Rakuric's got to run, trying to go around the outside of Dari up towards turn number 1. It's going to be difficult, though, to try and make it stick at the inside of turn 2. Dari, is he going to leave him the space? No, he's not. As that kind of corner tightens up, Rakuric tried to keep it down the inside, but there wasn't the room. RJ tried to capitalise, but couldn't find a way through himself either. So Rakuric stays in third for the time being. They don't really need to rush this overtake, of course, because Dari and Marty are still yet to pit in this race. They've got a long way to go. So, yeah, they still need to pit, and they're not going to play a factor really in this race. But Rakuric is, all of a sudden, after a really strong start to this race, as soon as we've got the medium compound tyres on, is not looking anywhere near as comfortable.
No, and he's just struggling in the dirty air of Dari, and he can't make the move stick because Dari seems to be running quite low wind, so he can easily stay ahead on the straights, and he's within the DRS range, crucially, of Marty. So that's just dragging him along, and it's holding up for his front pack. And I think as soon as Rick passes Dari, he's going to start extending the gap for RJ in behind.
Yeah, he's got to get the move done soon, surely, as Rakuric is using his ERS now, but so is Dari to stay ahead. So they're kind of wasting a lot of ERS at this point in the race. A lot of the drivers using a lot of ERS at this point, actually trying to get moves done. RJ feigning a move to the inside of 22, but that would have been a bold overtake if he went for that one. Has Rakuric got the run now? He's got a brilliant run out of turn number 24, but of course Dari still has the DRS range on the back of Marty, so they're going to be pretty much side by side into 27. Rakuric backs out of it before the hairpin, tries to go all the way around the outside of the hairpin, but Dari closes that one off, and has that given RJ the run now on the back of the Haas as Marty tries to break the toe to Dari down the pit straight there. Pretty much line astern the top 4 in this race. Marty could get swamped here as he tries to move to the middle of the road. Dari down the inside of the Alpine and towards turn number 1. Will have the outside for turn number 2, but Marty forces him out wide. Can Rakuric capitalise on that? No, we can't. They stay in the order at the time being, and that again is just the power of the DRS here. Second, third and fourth closed up so quickly on Marty that I don't think any of them were expecting it, and none of them in the end committed to a move.
Yeah, and it'd been a bit silly there to have tried to risk the move up the inside, as I might have broke a little bit too late and caused contact with Marty. But yeah, the DRS is just showing how overpowered the DRS and the slipstream is, as Marty's getting swamped on the straights, and I think he's going to be vulnerable to maybe even a double, maybe even a triple overtake at this rate.
Yeah, it's very possible, like you say, if he can get close enough out of 27, Marty could get completely swamped. He's got enough pace in the first sector to build a gap for the first 2 DRS straights, but by the time we get back around to the pit straight, he's all of that time that he's gained in the first part of the lap is completely gone. The one thing he has got going for him is he's got quite a bit more ERS than all the drivers behind him at the moment. So he's managed to save some while using those soft compound tyres. Through turn 22, look how close these guys are. You can throw a blanket over second, third and fourth. They're so line astern at the moment, but none of them can find a way through. Passe's got a run on Tope for 5th on the road. Can the Ferrari driver try and find his way around the outside on the way up to 27 for a net third in this race? Tope's going to try and hold it down the inside of Passe. Passe tries to hold it around the outside, but can't find the grip and understeers wide. Tope will hold 5th for the time being. Passe trying to get the move on the Williams here. The Ferrari looks a bit faster in a straight line. They're still going for the fight for the lead as well. Dari this time much further ahead of Marty into turn 1. Gets the move done. Rakuric holds 3rd. Passe and Tope side by side through turns 1 and 2. Passe should not... He doesn't get the run out of the corner. Tope holds the place. But it seems at the moment, Tope in 5th on the road, just struggling really to match the pace of the top 4 at the moment.
Yeah, just Tope doesn't have the pace, unfortunately, and stands back of the field. Rom made the overtake on Old School into turn 27, but he didn't get DRS down the pit straight, and he got swamped by Rex and Old School, which just, again, once shows how overpowered the DRS and the slipstream is. He has to time his overtakes a bit better this time around if he wants to make a move on the Alpine driver.
Yeah, timing is key around this track, like you say. So, yeah, a little bit difficult there. The problem now is got a yellow flag. That is Rom that actually has just crashed out coming out of turn number 13. And that is another safety car. That is our second safety car. That slows things down. I was about to say that it was going to get even more difficult for Rakuric now that Marty on the softs was directly in front of him. But that could be about to change with the safety car period. Will we see Dari and Marty in? Surely we'll see the pair of them in at the end of this lap. Marty would be for a set of fresh medium tyres. Dari could go for a set of softs and possibly take them to the end from here, but it's been a hectic race so far. It's been fairly clean. I was expecting a bit more DRS chicken kind of racing in this race. That's not really been the case so far. It's just been drivers making little mistakes here and there that have caused these kind of safety cars, but as expected, the DRS trains are phenomenally powerful here.
Yeah, and the top 2, who who on the oldest tyres in the field, were the quickest there is Marty almost goes into the back of Dari there on the end range. We're going to be seeing what tyres these two are going to be going on to. I'm Marty's gone for the medium tyres as expected. I think Dario will also go for the soft tyres, which he is.
Yeah, the soft tyres, like you say, for Dari. So he'll be one to look out for in this race, of course. He started on the mediums, started on that alternate strategy. So Marty did have to replace his front wing there. I think Dari's car ghosted on the way into the pit lane, so maybe he damaged his front wing somewhere else around the lap. So Marty in then for those fresh set of medium compound tyres. But what that means is that now he's at the very back of the DRS train, and we saw how difficult it was to overtake in that DRS train. It was easy to get close. It was difficult to make the move stick because that's another problem really with this track, isn't it? Apart from turns 1 and turn 27, there's no real heavy braking zones on this track. So it's difficult to go for those late moves and go for those dive bomb moves because on the 2 corners you can do it. 27, there's an immediate DRS zone afterwards, and you can't really go for a dive bomb move at turn number 1 because you'll possibly miss the apex of turn 2.
Yeah, so it's, as you were saying, that's very difficult to make overtakes. So I think Dari will be able to work his way through the field, especially on the soft tyres, but I think Martin's going to struggle the most. And one thing I'd just like to point out is I think this time around, I think the DRS trains are going to be a lot more split this time, as people who are struggling for pace like Old School and Rex, I don't think they'll be able to keep up with the likes of Brent, Passe, Top and Rick, because this time they're not going to have Martin and Dari holding up the leaders like Rick and RJ, so I'm hoping this time around we can see a bit more action between the leaders as there's not the DRS train anymore ahead of them.
Yeah, like you say, not a bit more of that. So we'll see if they can work their way through. Of course, still 3 drivers in the top 10 with a time penalty to their name, Rex and White, and of course our race leader Rikurik with a penalty in this race. So that puts RJ in the net lead as it stands. RJ doesn't need to win this one on track. The problem for him is he can't really sit behind Rikurik because the second he tries to sit behind Rikurik, he'll get swamped by the likes of Tope and Passe behind. So RJ here may not want to go for the lead, but he almost has to protect the net lead.
Yeah, so it's going to be a difficult race now from RJ. It may seem simple with the car ahead of him having a penalty, but as you were saying there, if he sits behind, he's just going to get swamped by the likes of Tope and Passe. But I think Tope as well, on that restart, we saw how much he was struggling on those medium tyres. So if this carries over on this restart, I think we're going to see RJ and Rikurik break away from the train behind.
Yeah, breakaway, like I said, it's going to be very difficult. Marty back into the pit lane again. I imagine that's going to be for a fresh set of softs. And a new front wing again, so he's hit the wall somewhere under that safety car period. Another front wing for Marty, but a fresh set of softs. You've got to say for Marty, he may as well. He's at the back of the field and was out of the points. Kamke and Alchemist have not had the pace in this race, neither has Knight, so you would say he'd get past those 3 fairly easily. Marty may as well put himself on the set of soft compound tyres and give himself at least the tyre advantage rather than sit there with a set of medium tyres and just get stuck.
Yeah, but he's got to make the moves of the 3 cars ahead of him quick, and if he doesn't, I think that'll be crucial for his race because he'll lose the insane DRS which is needed to make overtakes at this track to the likes of Daria and YHYY up ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, going to be interesting to see what Marty could do from here. He's had solid pace in this race. Of course, qualified 3rd in this race. Was running 3rd earlier on, but this strategy putting him out of position. He'll have to do a lot of recovering in this race, as will Dari as well. They'll be the 2 to watch out for. Safety car should be in at the end of this lap. We'll have 11 laps to go when we cross the line. Easy enough for the soft compound tyres to do those laps. It's whether they can get through the traffic in this race. And both, really, the start of the race and the safety car restart, the cork in the bottle both times seems to have been either Rex or Old School. Those two seem to be the ones that are kind of teetering on the edge of not being quite fast enough to keep up with the drivers in front. So you've got to say that's where it is. As Alchemist has actually crashed under the safety car. So he's dropped the car coming through turn number 18 and hit the wall. So that is another driver out of the race. It doesn't feel like it, but we've had 6 retirements in this race, and that's another driver out of the way for Marty. So that makes it even easier for him to get back through the field as the safety car's in this lap.
Yeah, and I think Marty's going to have a massive smile on his face after seeing that, because it's unfortunate there for Alchemist, but it was quite a simple mistake there, so that's cost him his race and any chance of points. But Marty now is right on the back of Kamke and Knight, and if he can make these moves quick, I think him and Dari are going to be charging through the field.
Yeah, they could be, like you say, keep an eye out for them. And Kurik then, he'll be leading us to the safety car restart. When does he decide to go for the safety car restart? He's not quite gone just yet out of the final corner. Hopefully everybody recognises that. Constantine is just a little bit, and now Rikurik goes before the line, and we are off again. There was a little bit of wobbling at the back. I think Brent maybe has hit somebody in that safety car restart, and Brent from 5th on the road dives into the pit lane, so already a disaster at the restart. Rikurik holds the lead, but only just from RJ and Tope. Passe in 4th. Luke now up to 5th. What a recovery in this race it's been for Luke. I said he's good at getting solid top 5 finishes. I didn't imagine he was going to get a solid top 5 finish from 18th on the grid in this race, but he's doing a brilliant job so far, and he's still close to, well, at the moment, he's in a net 4th, of course, with the Kurix penalty. So really good recovery in this race for Luke. But yet again, Brent in a good position, having another bit of misfortune midway through the race.
Yeah, that just seems to be a bit of a pattern with Brent this season. He's not had laid luck on his side this season, but his season will turn around. Like, I think last season he didn't have the best start and he came back in the mid part of the season. So if he keeps his head down and keeps his head cool, I think he's got a good chance of gaining back positions in this championship overall. But as you were saying there, Luke, with an awesome recovery drive there, just keeping his head down and keeping it clean, and that's all you need to do around Saudi. And he's found himself in P5 and in net P4, but he's already struggling to keep up with Passe up ahead.
Yeah, struggling a little bit. Tope as well, struggling to keep up just slightly with the top 2, so that could be a bit of a split in this field. Just running on board with Marty, him and Kamke all over the back of Knight. Kamke, another one on a fresh set of softs, trying to get past Knight, but in trying to get past Knight, is now under pressure from Marty, trying to get the move done as well. They just can't get it through at the moment, and doesn't seem like they want to use their ERS at this point in the race. Darry's got the move done on Wyatt Chawai, though. He's got his first move done at the safety car restart into turn number 27, up into 8th place. Goes the Williams driver. Kamke now trying to go around the outside of Knight up towards turn number 1. Can the Red Bull driver outbrake the Ferrari and make it the inside for turn number 2? He's down the inside. There's a little bit of argy-bargy between the two. Knight's forced out wide, and Marty, ever the present mind there, nabs the place off the pair of them as Kamke was desperate to get past Knight. He got a bit forceful when Marty said thank you very much and slipped on through on the pair of them.
A brilliant overtake there from Marty, just being patient as he's now on the back of White Line, actually pushing him through turn 10 here, and on the exit, if he can get the traction, he could go for the move, and I think he's going to go for it. He's got the ERS enabled. No DRS enabled yet, but he's going to try hang it around the outside and with the superior grip. I think he's going to make this move stick. White Troy forced him a little bit wide, a little bit of contact, but all is clean there, and he goes around the outside. It's a brilliant move for the Alpine driver.
Yeah, lovely stuff for Marty. So Marty's already waded his way through those cars that we thought could be a bit of a bugbear for him, up into 9th place. And of course, Rex with the penalty in front, that's a net 8th. So starting to climb their way back through the field. Tope, interestingly, has lost range to our top 2. The top 2 pushing very hard at this restart. Tope can't keep up, and it's Passe right behind now. Luke just hanging on, and Old School struggling as well in 6th. So that DRS train we were talking about has not formed really here. It's really split up at the safety car restart. This only helps those on the soft tyres because that pack is now split up and it's easier for them to make overtake stick. Rex surely, when the DRS is enabled, is going to have a run on Old School, but Darry and Marty are now right there. DRS is now enabled. Does Darry have the run on Rex down the pit straight without DRS? Not quite. He's 2 tenths back, but isn't close enough to make a move. Kamke is close enough to make a move on White YY, though. He also on the soft compound tyres up into 10th place. Kamke, of course, has done a solid job so far this season. 30 points to his name. Very good at picking up solid results when he can, and it's looked like he could be doing the same again today. But the big splits in the field are making it quite easy for these soft runners. But Old School there has gained a lot of time back on Luke and Passe and Tope, as Tope now really struggles in 3rd.
Yeah, so I think we predicted this on the restart with Tope struggling there, and he's almost 2 seconds behind RJ now, so RJ doesn't really have to force for the move again like he did, like we were saying earlier as well, on Rick, as he's not got any pressure in behind, and Passe seems to be the quickest out of Tope, Passe and Luke here, but he just can't get the move done without the DRS, but now the DRS is enabled, I think it'll be an easy move for Brent.
It should be an easy move, but of course the problem with that is he then leads the DRS train and could get swamped back by the car behind. So it's, do you sit behind and wait for something to happen, or do you go for the move and try and push away and break DRS again? Old School seems to be really struggling in this middle part of the lap. He's back within range in the first sector and then loses range again in the middle part of the lap. So doesn't seem to have the confidence or maybe the straight line speed to keep up with the cars in front. Rex, though, does. Rex has the DRS and is going to make it look easy. He's going to, was going to breeze around the outside, but backed out of it. Passe's got the move done on Tope into the final corner, but Tope will now have DRS down the pit straight and should easily get that move redone again down towards turn number 1. He's on, not using his ERS actually, is Tope. Maybe he's going to stick behind the Ferrari driver in towards turn 1. Passe in 3rd. Tope's going to stick behind. Old School's going to get the move back done on Rex, and Darry's going to try and get the pair of them here around the outside of turn number 1. He'll make the inside for turn number 2. Can he get the traction on the exit the corner? No, he can't. Old School has the better traction in the outside line, but Darry and Kamke are both through. Marty's had to come into the pit lane, though. His strategy again taking another blow.
There's Kamke there, gets past Rex, which is a brilliant move there through turn 4, but Darry there just playing a bit of DRS chicken as you were saying we'd expect, just letting Old School and Darry stay ahead so we could get the DRS into the run on the pair of them, and Unfortunately, he couldn't get past Old School, but he made the move past Rex, who has now lost 3 places within a few corners.
Yeah, a few places, a few corners down for our winner from last week. Of course, down to 9th position, but he would have lost those places on penalties anyway, as it stands then. Rekurik still leads. RJ still in 2nd place. RJ saving up ERS behind, but of course doesn't have to pass the Haas on the road. The Haas has the time penalty. Passe in 3rd, but Passe, Tope and Luke now completely on their own in 3rd, 4th and 5th. The problem here, their lack of pace at this restart means that despite his penalty, Rekurik here is now saving himself a podium, and for, well, the 2nd time this season. We saw it in Monaco last time we commentated, that Rekurik made a mistake and still somehow managed to salvage a podium position out of that race. He's doing the same again here tonight.
Yeah, and I think the main thing about Rekurik is he keeps his head. He doesn't let incidents go to his head, and it's proving his point now. Is 3.1 seconds per pass, so at the moment he's still going to be P2 with a time penalty, which just shows how fast he's been this race, and how RJ's probably been the quicker of the two, but he's just kept it cleaner, which is why he'll be winning the race. But Rekurik in P2 is still a phenomenal drive.
Yeah, still a phenomenal drive. Another thing was, Darius dropped the car. Darius dropped the car at turn number 1. I don't know if there was contact there, but Darius has spun at turn number 1, so his race has taken another blow. Kamke had just done a bit of a DRS, made a move on Old School into turn 27 when Darius had also made the move and managed to get past the Williams anyway, so Kamke timing that overtake perfectly. That's taken a lot of jeopardy out of this race for the likes of Tope, Passe and Luke, because now the only soft runner behind them with a real shot at attacking them is Kamke. And no offence to Kamke, but his raw speed around here hasn't looked that great so far this evening. But Kamke now into 6th position. As I mentioned earlier on, this whole season, Kamke has been very measured, very controlled, not been the fastest, but has kept it clean and kept out of trouble and scored points in almost every race. Doing the same again tonight. Maybe not been the fastest, but has been very smart and is now running in a top 6 position.
Yeah, as we saw him qualifying, he was around 1.5 seconds, I think, off the pole position time. And at the moment, he's only 5 places behind just the leader, which just shows that's what you need to do around this track. Just keep it clean and keep your nose clean. Same with Luke. Them two have been phenomenal tonight and are definitely contenders for driver of the day.
Yeah, definitely contenders, like you say. Kamke is derating, so that's going to cost him big time to the drivers in front. And now they're 3 wide in behind, coming into 27. Knight's going to get past Old School and Rex as they fight for position. Old School's going to drop behind Rex to get DRS, but that means he could struggle to get back past Knight. With the Alpine driver in front, of course, Rex and Knight with time penalties as Passe and Tope continue to swap their positions, and now Luke trying to get in on the action as well, but can't quite find a way through on Tope. 4th position, actually has got the better run, coming up towards turn 4, but again, not quite close enough to make the move stick and drops in behind in 5th position for the time being. Old School couldn't get the move back done on any of the drivers, so Rex up into 7th, Knight up into 8th, and Old School down to 9th, and Darius now back within range as well. So after another strong podium last time out at Silverstone, Old School back down with a blow, it seems, really struggling in this race.
Yeah, it's just been a bit too inconsistent this season, just a few too many mistakes, but he's had some really good races, such as Austria and last week at Silverstone, as he's going to let Darius through, so I think Old School may have some damage from that battle.
Possibly, yeah, I would be surprised. It's surprising to see somebody let another competitor through. So, yeah, maybe he has got some damage, like you're saying, is just cruising back to the pit lane. We'll wait and see. But, yeah, bit of a bizarre move to move out of the way. Then Rekurik and RJ still lead. They are now 4 seconds clear of this battle for 3rd. So the second they got some clean air, the top 2 have absolutely destroyed the field this evening in terms of pace. It is just the fight for 3rd now between Passe, Tope and Luke. And between these 3... it could be any of these drivers. It's just dependent on when they go for the moves and who times it perfectly.
Yeah, and at the moment I think we're seeing Tope stick behind Passe, but it's a dangerous game to be playing when you've got Luke right on your tail, as he's keeping his ERS and DRS enabled. So Tope thinks he's playing a smart strategy here, but he's only leaving himself vulnerable to Aston Martin in behind.
Yeah, now he's going to have to go to the move because Luke is trying to get the move done as well. They're going to go 3 wide into turn number 1. Passe is going to try and go around the outside. One of them has to back out, and it is Passe that backs out of the move. So Tope up into 3rd, Luke up into 4th. Passe having to back out, drops down into 5th position. So now it's advantage maybe Luke in this queue because he has the DRS on the car in front and has a car behind as well. So we'll wait and see. It's going to be a tight battle between those drivers. Darius recovering back through the field nicely after his spin. He's already passed Old School. He's passed Rex as well and is straight onto the back of Knight for 7th position. Despite his spin, Darius could still be on for a top 6 finish in this race.
Yeah, it's another driver who just hasn't been impacted by some poor decision making or some incidents in the race, and it's right on the back of Knight, and with the time penalty he doesn't need to make the move, but I think he'll make the move just to progress a bit more throughout the race and try get back onto the back of Kamke's. He definitely isn't the fastest here, and he just can't get within the 1 second window of the 3 drivers ahead of him.
Yeah, maybe Dari is the one to maybe get within that window. There's not long left in this race, 4 laps to go when we cross the line. But if he can get the move done on Knight soon, and if those three drivers fighting for third continue to fight, then Dari could be on them in no time. We shall wait and see. Luke now on his ERS. Is he going to go for the move on Tope up towards 26 and 27? Yes, he does. Gets the move done easily around the outside. Tope, though, will have the DRS down the pit straight. And, of course, Passe is right there as well to capitalise if he is close enough. So see who comes out on top in this battle, but again, it's just a game of who's in the right position at the right time. Does Tope have the ERS and the straight line speed to get a run back on Luke in towards turn number 1? Luke is defending to the inside. Tope's going to go for the outside move here and towards turn number 1, which will become the inside for turn number 2, but backs out of the move. Luke holds third for the time being, and now Luke in a net podium position from 18th on the grid. What a race this could have been for Luke if he was able to qualify.
Yeah, and I think if he qualified, he'd been well within inside the top 10 there, so he could have been up there with the likes of RJ and Rick as Brent has retired in the pit lane. And one thing I'd just like to point out is look at the ERS difference between the top two drivers. RJ with nearly a full battery and barely using it this race, and now Rick is only on 20%. So it just shows RJ has been the much quicker driver out of the two tonight, but still phenomenal driving.
Yeah, phenomenal drive from the pair of them. Like you say, that is why they are the top two in the championship at the moment. Really, really strong drive. This is a track that easily suits their style, the close walls and the fast nature with a lot of corners. It's been strong for them all season long. They were strong in Imola, they were strong in Monaco, they are strong here. It seems to make sense that these two drivers are strong at the same tracks. It's going to make this championship battle very, very close. And Tope and Luke will be just losing touch with the top two after this race as it stands, unless, of course, anything else happens in this race. We've still got 3 laps to go, so anything can happen. What can happen is Tope running wide at 22. That's going to put Passe right on the back of the Williams driver. Can Passe get the move done on Tope maybe into 27? He's going to have to use a lot of ERS to get the move done. He's not going to be close enough into 27. He's going to look down the inside. Is he going to go for a late braking move? No, he isn't. Forces Tope offline, but Passe can't find a way through. Dari in behind, though, onto the back of Kamke now for 6th.
Yeah, it's been a brilliant recovery once again from Dari here. He's not got the ERS advantage on Kamke. They're both very low, but he's using all of his remaining battery to try and make the move. Is he going to be close enough as Tope to make the move for P3? But down the inside goes Dari. It's going to be quite an easy move there for the Williams driver. So as Luke and Tope are going side by side through at the exit of turn 3 and turn 4, and they're going to go side by side to turn 4, surely Luke has to yield, and he does.
Yeah, smart driving there from Luke. Yudes out of the move, Tope into 3rd position then, as you would expect. Then Dari easily getting the move done as well, up in 6th. He's got 3 laps left in this race, and it's only 2 seconds off the back of Passe. So Dari could still get within range of these 3 battling for 3rd position. Could Dari swoop in at the last moment and catch them all off guard? I mean, he's dropped Kamke almost immediately in that first sector, so Dari looking very strong. His only problem is he doesn't have any ERS to his name, so that's going to really cost him in this second half of the lap down those straights to the drivers in front who have plenty of ERS and the DRS to help them along as well. So that's going to be a struggle for them. But Tope now 6 seconds off the top two. The top two have, well, been in a class of their own ever since this second safety car restart. And like you said, RJ looking far more comfortable in 2nd position here, not using his ERS, not pushing the track limits whatsoever, just sticking in behind the Haas. I'm sure he'll try and maybe want to win on track because he can, but he doesn't have to. Still, there's battle for 3rd going on at the moment. Dari's tantalisingly close to DRS, only 1.2 seconds, but his lack of ERS means that he's going to lose the best part of all that advantage down the next part, as they're nearly 3 wide into turn 27 in this battle for 3rd. Tope holds 3rd for the time being. Luke, though, much better run out the final corner and should breeze past the Williams up into 3rd.
Yeah, it's going to be quite an easy move there, but I think Passe should be trying to get involved here. He's got a bit of the ERS advantage on top up ahead, but he's sticking in behind. He's trying to save his ERS, so Passe's got to use a lot of ERS in these final 2 laps if he wants to get himself back onto the podium positions.
Yeah, it's got to use a lot, like you say. And of course, he can't wait around too long because Dari should be right there by the end of this sector, you would say. Dari will be right in play, and he could come in and take a podium position away from one of these drivers. He could snatch it off them in the dying depths of this race. So, yeah, can't sit around and wait forever. Only 2 laps left in this race to go. It's flown by the second half of this race after those safety car periods, but looking very, very close in this battle for 3rd. The top 2 are pretty much settled in this race. Further down, Knight in 8th position, closing in on Kamke and dropping Old School, who drops further back into the clutches of YHYY. So despite his lack of penalties, he's nearly too far behind Knight. I think actually Knight may have 2 penalties in this race. Yes, he does. So he is in range of Knight for 8th position, but is just struggling to hold on to the back of the Ferrari for the time being. 1.5 laps to go. Who do you see coming out on top in this battle for 3rd?
I think it's going to be a tricky one, but I think Luke will come out on top, as I think Tope's going to try and make the move down the pit straight after this DRS zone, and just down the final straight, I think Luke's going to have the advantage with the ERS. I'll just stay on the ERS now, but I think Luke's just got the pace over Tope today.
Yeah, it does look like it. Passe trying to force the move on Tope around the outside of turn 27. That'll be a bold move if he can pull it off, but he's run out of road before the final end of the corner, and Tope holds fourth for the time being. Passe is now using that ERS, trying to force a move from Tope maybe on this lap, trying to get him and Luke to battle so he can capitalise. Luke and Tope crucially both derating on the way towards turn 1. Passe still got plenty of ERS left, but just can't find a way through. Down towards turns 1 and 2. Luke holding third for the time being. Whitechawai's got the move on Old School as well for 9th position on the road, but that's not really going to affect their races with the penalties that Knight and Whitechawai have in this race then. Rekurik still leads. RJ is not pushing anymore. He can just hold on to second place. Another win this season for RJ. It will be his third win of the season. And it will be, well, we've only had technically only two winners still left in this series, with Rex winning last time out and J. Cole no longer in this division. We've still only got RJ and Rex as our race winners in this championship. But in this battle for third, it's really heating up. And Passe now with a major ERS advantage needs to use it down these final two straights.
Yeah, and I think RJ's going to go for the move on Rekurik just because he can. He's got the massive RS advantage as Rex picks up, and his final 3 seconds time penalty tonight. But RJ getting really close there to Rekurik, and I don't think Ric's going to be able to defend this. He's just got no ERS remaining after pushing so hard to just get the gap, as RJ's now burning all the ERS is saved over the past 12 laps. Breeze is around the outside, and I think RJ is going to win it on track now and take his third victory of the season, as you said, and the second one that's I've been here, so that seems to be a bit of a lucky charm there for the McLaren driver.
A bit of a lucky charm for RJ, like you say, but here he comes up towards the line. It's the third win of the season, and it's the championship lead for RJ. Rekurik secures the second place finish, and it's all going on behind. They're all battling up towards the line. It's Luke versus Tope, a drag race to the line, and Tope steals it on the line. I think Luke maybe a problem with his desync there. He's dropping down the order, but he will be fourth in this race. With that one, he should get that one sorted in the steward's room, but Tope looked like he got that one on the line anyway over the Aston Martin. Got a great drag out of the final corner. Got the move done, and our top 3 in the championship, top 3 in the positions in this race. Luke as well in 4th, will remain in 4th in the championship. Passe should be 5th ahead of Dari in 6th and Kamke in 7th. Old School in 8th position, and then Knight, Whitechawai, Rex and Marty, the rest of your finishers. But Tope nailed it there on the line. He waited literally till the last moment of the race and got the run towards the line.
Yeah, and it's phenomenal drive there from Tope. He didn't have the pace tonight, unfortunately, the top 2, but he was able to just stick within the train and just save enough ERS on that final lap just to get the move on the line. And that was smart driving to not go past him into turn 27, because if he did, I think Luke would have got him just right back down that straight.
Yeah, wouldn't have got right back down, like you say, but brilliant stuff there from Tope to get the move done for third position on the podium, and another podium to add to his campaign. Then we'll run you through quickly once they pop up the order of this race, and then hopefully, Chicken, you can invite our top 3 to the party for the podium interviews. Of course, if they want to join, we'll wait and see. But here are your results then from round number 7 of the championship. It's RJ with his third win of the season and the championship lead ahead of Rekurik, who finishes in second despite that 3-second penalty. The two of them, the class of the field this evening, it seems. It would have been a shame to see. It would have been nice to see where Marty could have been, but his strategy did not work whatsoever, and he ends up again well down the field and only scoring 1 point in this race in 12th. Tope, the final podium sitter, ahead of Passe in 4th. I think he gets his best result of the season so far. Dari in 5th ahead of Kamke and Luke, but of course Luke will jump up into 4th actually, so Passe will be down to 5th, Dari down to 6th, and Kamke down to 7th. Old School 8th ahead of Knight in 9th, Whitechawai 10th, Rex and Marty, the 2 Alpines, the final point scorers. Brent and, well, everybody from here down, all retired from this race. Brent, Alchemist, Rom, Mats, Bunty, Maverick and Noah J, your retirements from this race. In the end, it was a race of attrition, not necessarily because people were crashing into one another, but more people just not really being able to keep the car on the road.
Yeah, and I mean, the cleanest drivers today, like your RJs, your Passes, and your Topes, and Rickricks as well, they just kept their head down, made sure they avoided the walls, and that's why they've got the top 4 places. And Dari as well, after a spin, getting P5, but he'll probably drop to P6 after Luke will be promoted back to P4. It's a phenomenal recovery drive, so he had a spin with only like 6 laps remaining.
Yeah, with success remains, that's a brilliant recovery, like you say, and doing himself a solid championship-wise as well then. Hopefully, Chicken, you can get the top 3 into the party. That would be great. Hopefully, we can have a chat with the 3 of them. But before we do get them into the party, who would you say would you put for driver of the day? Who do you think was the strongest here tonight for you?
I've invited all the top 2 to the party, but I'd say the driver of the day for me, it has to be Luke. Just from P18 on the grid after disconnecting and qualifying all the way back up to P4 on track and just missing out on the podium. I can't see anyone else who deserves it.
Yeah, I fully agree with you that one there as well. That was a brilliant drive from them, and yeah, I have to agree. Luke, I think driver of the day for me to get that far up from the back of the field, brilliant stuff. We've got the top two in the party, so let's have a chat with our top two in this race. And by and far, the top two drivers so far in this evening's race, they were miles clear of the rest of the field by the end of that one. We're chatting with our race winner RJ though. In the end, didn't have to do much. He just had to sit behind Rikurik, who had that time penalty. How was that race from your side of things?
Very stressful until the safety car. Very well, yeah, very easy after the safety car. Really, that Rick's pen kind of just made my race really. Changed the way I was going to drive it because I was going to go full on the attack on him. Marty in the first stint was absolutely rapid. I just a bit. I'm still struggling to understand his decision not to pit under the first safety car, but no. I had the pace, best qualifying of the season, so that's always a good sign for me, especially. But yeah, I had the pace, and I just sat in the DRS. I knew if I had DRS, he couldn't get away from me. So yeah, fair, relatively easy from that point of view.
Yeah, relatively easy, like you say, and of course a strong qualifying. If I said before the start of the stream, I said before the start of the race, if you ever have a strong qualifying, then it's usually going to be a strong race from yourself. And Jeddah leans itself to the two other wins you've had this season in terms of Imola, obviously getting the win, Monaco as well. Jeddah fairly similar in how you need to drive the circuit. I'm guessing there's tracks coming up in the future that you're looking at wins again. I think Canada and Australia maybe some of those to maybe look at in the future. So championship wise for you now, it's looking very, very good for being the front runner maybe in this championship.
Yeah, I don't want to say much because there seems to be a trend going on with me leading the championship. So I hope that doesn't happen again. But I haven't done Canada in years, so that's my excuse. But yeah, Australia I'm looking at, and I can't wait for that one. But yeah, I think this is the one where I'm going. Oh, okay, I'm fully here now. I've just got to fight out to the end of the season, and there's some proper tough competitors in this division, so it's gonna be so tough.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough. Like you say, it's going to be a fun season going ahead. Chicken, have you got anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I'll just say, what was your mentality after you saw Rickert getting the penalty? Were you eager to pass him, or were you just happy to stay behind and just make the move on the final lap like you did?
Well, I knew as long as I was in DRS of him, so I pushed on the first couple of laps. I saw that Taupe had kind of just decided to battle pass that instead. I don't know what was going on there, but that gap opened up. So I was like, right, I can just push and stick with Rick now. And as soon as I got in DRS, I just went, right, I'm going to sit here, and if I'm going to go for it, it'll be the final corner, which is what ended up happening. And I knew, unless Rick was going to get his penalty removed, he wouldn't fight it that much because he's not that kind of person. So that was really it. I just wanted to sit in behind him as soon as he got that penalty and just not make the mistakes myself.
Okay, good insight there, and congrats on your third win of the season.
Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant stuff, RJ. And thanks for joining us in the party yet again this season. Fingers crossed for you next time out. We'll move over to our second place finisher in this race. Rikurik, again on the podium. Again, another strong race from you. Probably got to say maybe the fastest this evening, well, of course, with Pole, but unfortunately that penalty costing you right at the end. How was that race from your side of things?
A lot of fun, thank you. Yeah, the qualifying, I was surprised. I was thinking Pole is going to be under 27s or equal 27. But I got the pole, I was happy. And after the first stint, I saw pretty much that RJ was my competition, and especially when Marty didn't stop. So I wanted to get, after the second safety car, I wanted to get as far away as possible from RJ with the penalty. But I couldn't do it with the 3 DRS zones. But then it was just driving around, seeing Taupe and Passe and Luke were so far behind, just driving around. I was trying to bait him into taking corner cuts a couple of times, trying to kind of turn into the corner a bit too early so he would follow me, and then he would get a corner cut, but he didn't get anything.
I was about to say, was that maybe part of the strategy, that last part of the race, was to try and force RJ into a mistake to get him a penalty or get him offline, or did you just kind of just sit in the lead and just cruise kind of towards the end?
Yeah, it was more or less cruising because the first sector you have to be really on point with turning points and everything. So I cannot really bait there to do anything. It was pretty much the first turn that I tried to bait him.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, brilliant stuff from you in the end. And looking forward now, championship-wise, of course, I said it to RJ, he's the front runner now after this race, takes the lead of the championship. You, of course, briefly held the lead of the championship going into this one, and you've been solid all season long. So what's your mindset going forwards now as we head into the middle part of the season? How are you looking at the championship properly now, or is it more sort of taking it race by race?
Race by race. I think next week Bahrain. I think isn't Tope he's on a pad, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be strong, and same as Mark. They're gonna be strong there. So I feel like RJ and me, we're not gonna be so strong there. But it's race by race. I think my worst result this season was last week, fifth in the end after penalty removal. So I'm just trying to race my race clean as possible, no DNFs, and win the championship without winning any races. That's my goal.
that would definitely be a turn up for the books, wouldn't it? Chicken, have you got anything you'd like to add?
Can't really think of anything off the top of my head, so I'll just go this. Were you planning on trying to fight RJ maybe on the last lap, or did you know your penalty had no chance of being removed, so you just casually let him by?
Yeah, it was my fault. I track extended like 3 times in the first. I think it was like 6 laps or something. It was horrible. So I know, like, yeah, it's game over. Nothing I can do. So I just let him go. I tried to go as fast as possible, but the DRS was too powerful.
Yeah, no, it's a shame. But anyway, congrats on P2. It's still a great result, and the championship is never over.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, turning into a great fight between you and RJ, and of course Tope right there as well. Thank you for joining us in the party. I don't think Tope is in the party with us this evening, so we won't be getting a chat, unfortunately, with our third place finisher, but thank you to our top 2 for joining us. Thank you again to Chicken as well for joining me in the commentary box this evening, filling in for Jess, of course. I doubt this will be the last time you're commentating this season, and thank the Lord, Chicken. You didn't curse the lobby this time. It wasn't a race of horrible driving standards, so the curse is broken. We can now move on from that one. Thank God, yeah, we can move on from that one. But brilliant stuff from everybody this evening, and yeah, tune into obviously the Division 2 and 5 streams. They'll be taking place in about 15 minutes time. You can go back and watch Divisions 1 and 4 as well. They took place at the same time as us, so you can go back and watch those streams. And we'll be back this time next week for round 8 at the Bahrain International Circuit at 6:30 p.m. on Saturday. But for myself and Chicken, it is thank you very much for joining us once again, and we'll see you next time. Take care and good night.